So when I was in high school, we used to have a daily meeting of all the students. This was an all-boys school in the gymnasium with all the teachers, and they'd make announcements and upcoming events. And the vice principal stood up and he said, "We're having our annual swimming and diving competition for our school against 5 other schools." He said, "We've got a full complement of swimmers, but we've only got 2 divers. We need 1 more. Is there anyone who wants to volunteer?" There's dead silence, and I'm looking around and no one's putting up their hands. And he says, "Look, if we don't get a 3rd diver, our team will lose the points that swimmer would have gotten. So please, is there someone who wants to be a hero, a potential hero for the school and volunteer to be on the dive team?" And I'm looking around, everyone's feeling uncomfortable because no one wants to do it. Finally, a hand goes up, mine. But there was a problem. I was not a competitive diver. I could jump off the side of the pool. I had a mean bombed cannonball jump, big splash. That would probably get points in a diving competition. And the worst problem was our school didn't have a dive coach. But there was 6 weeks to go, which was plenty of time for me to learn to dive and find out what I had to do. But I only went to the pool to find out what I had to do the day before the competition. It's a true story, day before the competition. And my 2 teammates were there, and I got up to one of them and I said, "So what am I supposed to do tomorrow?" I said, "Well, first you have to do a forward dive." "Okay, I can do that." "Then you have to do a back dive." "Okay, I think I can do that." "Then you have to do a somersault." "Oh, crap." So I practiced the forward dive and the back dive for 10 minutes until I had them nailed. But I wasn't prepared to do the somersault because I didn't want to risk injury. I might sprain an ankle landing in the water and let the team down. So the next day I go to the pool for the competition and thinking this is not going to be a big deal. And I was shocked because there were hundreds of people, students and parents and competitors, and I thought, oh my God, what have I gotten into here? I thought I have to withdraw, but then I thought, it's too late. I remembered what the vice principal said, I've got to, be honorable and do the right thing and just compete. So I look around at all the other students, all the other competitors, and they were, real athletes, perfect physiques, and they were all wearing those tiny little bathing suits. Remember in the old, tiny little things? I had on an oversized boxer bathing suit, came halfway to my knees, and I sign myself in. I write down the dives I'm going to do: forward dive, back dive, somersault. Others were putting more fancier things in, but not, I didn't. And they call me to do my first dive, the forward dive. Now all the other competitors, they're diving from the 3-meter board, even from that high cement thing. They're doing their dives. I'm not going to do that because I'm afraid of heights. I'm going to do all my dives from the 1-meter kiddie board. So I get on the board and I run down the length of the board and do my forward dive, and I think it's perfect. Maybe my hands were clenched, my elbows bent, my knees were crooked, and my back was scoliotic. Otherwise, perfect dive. Now the other kids are getting 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, even a couple of 9s out of 10. I get 3/4 of a point. And I'm embarrassed, but I say to myself, the next dive, the back dive, it's a more difficult dive. I'll get more points for that. So they eventually my turn comes up, and they call me to go up and do the dive. And I step onto the board, walk right to the edge of the dive. You do the back dive right from the end of the dive. So I walk up to the end of the diving board, and I turn around and get my toes right on the edge, and I get my bounce, and I adjust my bathing suit, and I do the dive. I dive up and back. Now when you do back dive, I don't know if you know this, you're not supposed to actually land on your back. You're supposed to land perfectly perpendicular to the water, like this. So maybe I was a degree or two off at the most. And I come up out of the water and look at the judges, see my score, 0.5 point. Oh my God. Don't worry, I say to myself, it's okay, you'll do fine. The somersault's a much harder dive to do. But I realize I've never done a somersault in my life before. So they call me to do the dive, and the announcer says, John Milmid will do a somersault in the pike position. And I didn't write that down. I don't know the difference between the pike position and the missionary position. Even today, my wife says, I still don't know the difference. So I step up on the board. What? I step up onto the board and I run down the length of that board and I launch myself into the air. Miraculously, I started somersaulting. I don't know how many times. I don't know in which direction. You're supposed to keep your eyes open so that you can see the water, so you know when to straighten out. Well, I kept my eyes closed in anticipation of my death. And afterwards, one of my teammates said my dive looked like a death spiral. I hit the water kerplunk. You're supposed to enter the water with no sound, tiny little splash. There's a huge splash that sprays everywhere. I stay under the water for as long as possible because I knew I hadn't done well. My voice was a little high pitched, so I don't know which part of me hit the water first. And I come up out of the water. Now, after each dive, the audience is clapping, applauding, sometimes there's cheering. I come up out of the water, there's no applause, no cheering, just laughter. This is a true story. I'm not... And I say to myself, I must have done well with this dive because it was a somersault and I did somersault. But I look at the judges for my score, 1/4 point. I said to myself, what is it with these judges? I landed in the water, didn't I? My bathing suit stayed on, 1/4 point. So the total for my 3 dives is 1.5 points. The other kids were getting 15s, high teens, low 20s. I get 1.5 points. It was total embarrassment for me. I'd let myself down. I'd let my team down. But had I actually let all of these entities down? Because after all, out of 600 boys, I was the one who volunteered, and I did it. But, when the strange thing was when they totaled up the points from each of the dives, all of the swimming races, my school won the competition by 1 point. So this little skinny boy with his atrocious dry dives had made the difference. It just goes to show that you don't have to be the best on your team, you just have to help your team be the best.
That's great. Thank you.